telling us the story, Renee, on the podcast there about that first light bulb moment with your painting, which was the turning point for your career, really. I was in tears. There were tears. Um,
Wow.
I could really resonate with it because you were so candid, the way you shared that emotion, because it is deeply emotional. I felt it myself when I paint, and yeah, it's a real light bulb moment. So I'm wondering that since that painting was so significant, where is it now?
It's in my house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some are keepers, right?
that was one that needed to be kept.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to see it. Would you share it with us sometime?
Oh yeah. Oh, maybe yes, I will share that with you. It's a
That would
piece
be
called
lovely.
Pana. Yeah, well, there are two. One is Minka and one is Pana. And Pana is in my living room. So they're
Okay.
both really significant.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be lovely to get a picture of you with partner. We
Oh,
could
okay. I'll
we
have
could
to
use that.
ask my
Yeah.
husband to take one. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. One of the things we didn't have time to cover on the podcast, Renee, was your interest in books, because you're an avid reader and you're part
Yeah.
of a book club as well. So tell us about that. I'd love to hear what you're reading and what really floats your boat when you have the time to read.
I love historical fiction. I love a good story and I love just being able to learn little tidbits here and there about history. So
Hmm.
that would be my favorite genre. And I started the book club here so I'm still fairly new to Monterey Peninsula, and
Hmm.
um, I have so many phenomenal friends here. But when you're working full time and traveling and things like that, it's kind of hard to make really good quality time with your friends. And so I thought, I love reading. My friends, I think, love
Hmm.
reading. So, I'll start a book club and then, we get a guaranteed once a month hangout. And so it was kind of motivated by just wanting to have, a sort of set thing,
Hmm.
because, when you try to make random plans with friends, it becomes like herding cats and, like one can make it, one can't. And then you're dealing with a million texts of who can, who can't. And so I was like, well, we're going to do it the third Tuesday of every month. Whoever can make it makes it. And it's been great. So next year will be our 1 year anniversary. And we started the book club with a book by Kristen Hanna called The Women,
Yes.
which she's one of my favorite authors.
Yeah.
And so I read a lot of books that we do for book club. And then I also read a lot of books that have nothing to do with our book club. Like my son Owen he's the most avid reader I know. And he loves books by Brandon Sanderson is probably his favorite author. And those books are, he's studying astrophysics and he still will find time to read books that are, 1,000 pages. So I started reading those books so I could, have that with Owen, our little special connection on Brandon Sanderson books.
Uh-huh.
So those are fantasy and they're tremendous. So a lot of the names from the books that I'm reading also end up being the names for the paintings I do. The names
Oh,
just resonate
interesting.
with me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so let's see. This past book club, we read three books by a really good friend of mine, Catherine Ray, Reay. She's written. I've probably read every book she's done, and the first one I read was a book called Dear Mr. Knightley, and it was about a girl who kind of had a rough time growing up, and then sort of came full circle, and so it hit me right away, and it resonated with me, and I was like totally hooked on her books, and so I started reading all of them. And the three most recent ones, we decided to do three for our last book club because we took a month off over the
Hmm.
holidays. So we read The London House and A Shadow in Moscow and The Berlin Letters. And these were great. They're not a series. They were totally individual, but the first one took place during the Second World War. The next one was after that, like when they put up the Berlin Wall.
Hmm.
And then I might have these in the wrong order. So there's the Cold War, there's the Berlin Wall.
The Shadows
Anyway,
in Moscow.
A Shadow in Moscow.
Moscow.
They're so good. They're
Yeah.
so, so good. So we just had book club on Tuesday night, and Catherine was on a Skype call with all of us talking about her research and how, the Berlin Letters in particular was one that she talked about. And she showed a photograph that sort of inspired the book. And it was a picture of a woman handing her child over when they first built the wall, it was actually barbed wire, and she was on one side, her husband was on the other, and he was on the west side, and she passed her son over to him, knowing
Okay.
that, so that's what inspired the book. And so then in her research, her husband actually booked her a trip to go to Germany
Hmm.
and booked her a full day with like a German scholar. And so she went around from place to place to place. And it was funny to hear her talk about it because she was like saying how, you know, the scholar guy had to kind of wait while she would run from this corner to this street. So that in her book, when she said, Louisa had to run from something Strasse to, whatever, she wanted to be that accurate. Her
Yeah.
research is phenomenal. So the books are really, really good. I highly recommend them.
And they are fiction.
And then they are fiction. They're historical fiction.
Okay.
She's a great storyteller. So those are good. And then for this coming book club, we're reading The Matchmaker's Gift.
Okay.
So that's the next one. Linda Cohen Leugman is the author.
Okay. You would have read, if you like Kristen Anna, you would have read The Four Winds.
Oh yeah, I've read all her books too.
All of her books.
Yeah, yeah,
Have
for
you read,
sure.
here's a good book club book for you. Maggie Shipstead, The Circle. Well, it's
No, I
just
don't
called
know of that
Circle.
one.
Oh yeah, that's a wonderful book.
Okay,
Really solid book.
thank
Maggie
you.
Shipstead. Yes. I could give you a whole lot,
Yeah.
but I wanted to hear your recommendations because we didn't get a chance on the show to talk about it. Well, I think we could talk about a lot of other things, René. Your interests are vast, and I really appreciate you sharing your story so candidly on the podcast. And if anyone is watching this and has not listened to the podcast, you can find the podcast on any podcast app and also, of course, here on YouTube. So I hope you'll share it with others who might like the show too, because we have some fantastic women like René sharing their stories, their journey. And it seems to me, given your story, René, that there's almost a book in it somewhere. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I've heard that many times, and it's sort of a little dream of mine to be able to put it together. I don't think I would write it as a memoir or as nonfiction. I think I would have to get creative just to piece it together in a more cohesive way. There are big gaps in my memory, so that's always been sort of troubling for me. But
Right.
yeah, I would
How about
like
a
that.
podcast?
Oh gosh.
You could
I
just
don't know.
record it. You could just record it.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe one way to do it. There's some food for
Yeah,
thought. There's
yeah.
some food for thought. Well, Renee, thank you so much for taking time to come on the show and also for giving us a little bit of bonus content here on the YouTube channel. And so remind everybody where they can find you online and on social media.
My website is reneromeroschuler.com, and social media is at René Romero Schuler. And I will just say my first show this year is going to open on April 4th in Chicago at Zola Lieberman Gallery in River North.
In River North, Chicago. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for joining me. It's been so much fun. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me, Chris.